Let's get started with today's heredity. So let's get started with this lesson, heredity. Okay. So what does this term heredity mean? We will stress on that. So we have studied about the reproductive process that give rise to individuals that are similar. So that are similar, but they are subtly different. So we have discussed how some amount of variation is produced even during asexual reproduction. So how the parents are looking, same look we will not be getting in the next generation. There is a variation. Okay, so in the number of successful variations are maximized by the process of sexual reproduction. Okay, so we have observed in the reproduction part also that a field of sugarcane we find very little variations among the individual plants, but in a number of animals including human beings which reproduce sexually, quite distinct variations are visible among different individuals. So if the parents both are fair, might be their children, one is fair, another is not fair, one is having a long hair, another is having a long straight hair, another is having a curly hair, though might be their parents are not having those characters. So might be they are somewhat like their father, somewhat like their mother, or in other cases they are having their own characters. So how this is happening? So in this chapter we shall be studying the mechanism by which variations are created and inherited. So that is very important and we should know how these variations are created. Okay, so let us study. So first we are here to stress on this accumulation of variation during reproduction. Okay, so inheritance from the previous generation provides both a common basic body design and a subtle change in it. So a basic body design will be same, right? If human beings are reproducing, their kids will be human beings only. So basic design is same. They will have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 nose, so everything, 2 hands, 2 legs and all. But there will be certain variations, subtle changes will be there for the next generation, right? Is it clear to all of you? Now think about what would happen when the new generation in turn reproduces what they are reproducing. So the second generation will have differences that they inherit from the first generation as well as newly created differences. So they are something they are inheriting from the parent, that is from the parental generation they are inheriting something, and they are creating some differences of their own. Okay, so let us see this picture, so this diagram, and see. So creation of diversity over succeeding generations. So this is what we are showing here. Okay, so the original organism at the top will give rise to say 2 individuals. So this organism is giving rise to these 2 individuals. So here you can see the head part is red, here the bottom part is green. Okay, so similar body design is similar. So the design wise it's same, but there are variations but with subtle differences. Now each of them are giving again 2 organisms in the next generation, but each of the 4 individuals in the bottom row, each of the 4 individuals in this bottom row, they are different from each other. Okay, while some of these differences will be unique, others will be inherited from their respective parents who were different from each other. So you can see here the parents, this one and this one, are different from each other, though they are similar in certain ways. Now the kids, they are somewhat similar. They are having, some are having this head part red, some are having this basal part green. But here the body color is different. Here one hand has turned out to be pink. Here one hand has turned out to be, this part has turned out to be like blue with some stripes. So this is what are showing several variations, and some characters they are having like that of their parents. Okay. So this is what we are going to explain in today's lesson. Okay. Yeah, now in this figure 8.1, it would represent the situation if a single individual reproduces, as happens in asexual reproduction. So this is a single individual. What is happening in asexual reproduction? The single parent only gives birth, or reproduction involves in reproduction. So if one bacterium divides, then a resultant of two bacteria divide again. So this two bacteria, they are dividing. So if four individual bacteria generated would be similar, there would have been very minor differences between them generated due to the small we can say that inaccuracies in DNA copying. Okay, so now if sexual reproduction is involved, even greater diversity will be generated, okay, as we will see when we discuss the rules of inheritance. So as we move down, we will be discussing this only. So do all these variations in the species have equal chances of surviving in the environment in which they find themselves? Obviously not. So there are certain variations. All the variations, will they survive in the environment? Depending on the nature of variations, different individuals would have different kind of advantages. So there are variations, there are certain changes in the body after reproduction. So there are certain kinds of advantages also from one generation to another. So bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in heat wave, as we have discussed earlier, like that bacteria which can survive in cold conditions. Like in the next generation, if they have developed that kind of variation in their body, they will be able to survive in the freezing zones. That is another thing, that selection of variants by the environmental factor forms the basis of evolutionary process. So how they are changing? They are changing as per the environment. Their variations, their development, their evolutions are as per the environmental factors. Okay, so the selection of the variants is like that. So as they are selecting the environmental factors, it will be easier for the next generation who is selecting a variation, will be able to adjust or adapt to that environment properly. Now, there are several questions which you can just find out the answer and write it, and if you're having any queries, you can ask me, okay? So, if a trait A exists in 10% of the population of an asexually reproducing species, and a trait B exists in 60% of the same population, which trait is likely to have arisen earlier? Okay, so this is what A is existing in 10% of population and B is existing in 60% of the population. So which trait is likely to have arisen earlier? Whether A or B. So just think and write. How does the creation of variations in a species promote survival? So this creation of certain variation we have seen, like in bacteria, they can withstand the heat if they have adjusted to this heat waves. So this, how these are promoting survival. So these questions you will be able to write the answer, I think. Just think and write. And so for the answers, I'll be discussing the answers in the next video first, in the next class first, and then I'll be discussing the lesson. So for that, you need to subscribe to my channel. So you will get the pop-up as soon as I I'll update the next lesson or next post. So then I'll start with the questions and then I'll move on to the topic of that day. So let's now move on to what is heredity. Okay, so what is heredity? The most obvious outcome of the reproductive process still remains the generation of individuals of similar design. So the design is the same. Okay, the rules of heredity determine the process by which the traits and the characteristics are reliably inherited. So you are inheriting from your parents something, some traits or some characters. Your parents have inherited some traits from your grandparents. So that is, the characteristics are reliably inherited from one generation to another. So that is heredity, or we can call it genetics. So through genes only these characters are passed on from one generation to the other. So this in details you are going to study in the 12th standard. So let's start with the basics in 10th. Okay, so let us take a closer look of these rules. So first of all, what are inherited traits? So what exactly do we mean by similarities and differences? Okay, we know that a child bears all the basic features of a human being. However, it does not look exactly same like the parents or human population, so show a great deal of variation. Okay, so here you can observe two types of ears. So this earlobe is joined and this is not joined. Okay, so this we will tell that it is attached earlobe and this is a free earlobe. So observe the ears of all students in your class. You can make an activity. You can just write in a sheet of paper that students who are having free or attached earlobes and calculate the percentage of students having each. Okay. Now find out about the earlobes of the parents of each of the students in class. So you are supposed to ask each and individual student if they're, so suppose their earlobe is this free. So you can ask which of your parents are having free earlobes, right? So either the father or the mother. So just then if they are telling that no, both are having attached earlobes, then ask that whether your grandparents, your maternal grandparents or your paternal grandparents, any are having this free earlobes or not. Okay, so then you can correlate the earlobe type of each parent with their parents. Okay, based on this evidence suggest a possible rule of inheritance of the earlobe types. Okay, so if the parents are not having, might be the grandparents from one of the sides will be having. So like that you can draw a conclusion that how that is inherited through the genes. Now we will study the most important contribution of scientist Mendel in the rules of inheritance of traits. Okay, so Mendel's contribution we'll study now. So the rules of inheritance of traits of Mendel's contributions, what are those? So in human beings, they are related to the fact that both father and mother, they are contributing practically equal amounts of genetic material to a child. So one chromosome is coming from the father and another is coming from the mother. So they are contributing equally. So the DNA material or the genetic material is coming equally from the father and the mother. Okay, so this means that each trait can be influenced by both the paternal and the maternal DNA. So either they are getting the characteristics of the father or they are getting the characteristics of the mother in equal proportions. Okay, so they are both influenced by them. Okay, thus each trait, there will be two versions in each child. What will be that? The trait seen in the child B, that Mendel he has told that he worked out the main rules such as that of inheritance. It is interesting to look at some of his experiments from more than a century ago. So we will be dealing with Mendel's experiments where he proved that both the maternal and the paternal DNA contribute to the development of several characters as well as variations in the offspring. Okay, so how he worked on that and who is Gregor Johann Mendel, we will study on that. So who is Gregor Johann Mendel? He was born in 1822, he died in 1884. So this is Gregor Johann Mendel. Mendel was educated in a monastery and went on to study science and mathematics in the University of Vienna. Okay, so failure in the examinations for a teaching certificate did not suppress his zeal for scientific quest. So he failed to get a teaching certificate. He kept on working, experimenting in the monastery itself, started growing peas. Many others have studied the inheritance of traits in peas and other organisms earlier. But Mendel blended this knowledge of science and mathematics and was the first one to keep out the individuals exhibiting a particular trait in each generation. Okay, so he was the first one to count that individuals are exhibiting or showing a particular trait in each generation, and this helped him to arrive to the laws of inheritance. So how did Mendel work? So Mendel, as he was in monastery, Mendel got a huge place. So he started his work with pea plants, and there were contrasting visible characters in garden peas. So how he took round peas as well as he took wrinkle seeds, tall pea plants as well as short plants. He took white color plants with white color flowers as well as violet color flowers, and so on. So these are the main traits he worked on. He worked on several other traits as well. So he took pea plants with different characteristics. A tall plant and a short plant produced the progeny by crossing them and calculated the percentage of tall and short progeny. So in the first place, this is Mendel's monohybrid cross when he has taken only one character. Okay, so this is monohybrid cross. So he has taken one tall plant and a dwarf plant. Okay, so he has done a cross between them. So what he is seeing in the F1 generation, no medium height plants are there. So what is there? So all the plants were tall in the F1 generation. Here you can see all the plants are tall. This meant that only one of the several traits was seen. Not some mixture of the two, not some few tall plants, few short plants or any medium height plants, not like that. Only the tall plants were visible in this generation. So the next question was there, were the tall plants in F1 generation exactly the same as the parent generation? So this means that whether they were genetically same. So this is what you are seeing, the external characters is the phenotype. Okay, so this is the phenotype. So what is the genotype? What is the genetic basis where they are genetically same as the parent? So the parent was TT and TT. So why it is written as capital TT and small TT? So we are representing the tall plant as capital TT and the short plant as small TT, because the dominant characters in Mendel's experiments were written in capital K form, and the recessive characters which were not expressing in the F1 generation were written in the lower case. Okay, so they were written in the lower case, so the small t. So Mendelian experiments test this, that both the parental plants, these F1 tall plants, they do reproduce by self-pollination. Okay, the progeny of the parental plants are of course all tall. Okay, so this progeny, they are all tall. However, the second generation of the F2 progeny, how they are again crossing, they are self-crossing. That is, in this two plants are taken and crossed. Okay, so after self-crossing, what we are seeing in the second generation or the F2 generation, instead of 1/4 of them are short. This indicates that both the tallness and the shortness traits were inherited in the F1 plants. So few are tall and only one is short. Okay, but only the tallness trait was expressed in few. This led Mendel to propose that two copies of factors, now called genes, controlling the traits are present in sexually reproducing organism. Now these two may be identical or may be different depending on the parentage. Okay. Now a pattern of inheritance can be worked out with the assumption as shown. So this pattern we will be doing in the Punnett square in the next part. So till now, is it clear to you all? This part what we have spoken here, we have spoken here about the monohybrid cross, where we have discussed about the to cross between a tall and a short plant. So we have spoken that they are phenotypically showing that this is a tall and this is a short plant. So what is the genotype? The gene is carrying two alleles. That is, in the tall plant it is carrying T and T, and in the short plant it is carrying lowercase tt. So here the dominant characters which are expressing itself are shown as the capital T, and the recessive characters in Mendel's experiments are shown as small t, or any other characters always in the lowercase. Okay, so this is for today's episode. In the next part, in the next class, we will be studying this monohybrid cross with the Punnett square in details, and we will learn there what is the phenotypic ratio in Punnett square and what is the genotypic ratio. Then we will move on to the dihybrid cross. So what does this dihybrid cross means? That they are taking two pairs of characters and they are crossing with two pairs of characters, not single pairs. Okay, so here they are taking round and green, wrinkled and yellow. So two pairs of characters are being taken. So first we will study the Punnett square in the next class. Then it will be very clear for us to study the dihybrid cross. So till then, you need to stay tuned to all my videos, subscribe to my channel, and please do share it with your friends. If you are liking my channel, Please do write in my comment box and what all you want me to teach you, or what you want me to explain in the next class, that you just let me know. So in the next class we will be studying the Punnett square of monohybrid cross, and we will continue with the dihybrid cross. So till then, stay tuned, stay updated, and please don't skip my lesson in the middle. It will be a very interesting topic, very interesting video throughout the lesson. Stay tuned and don't skip in the middle so that you won't miss any important topic. Thank you. Bye bye.